Husband wet the bed, couldn't handle my honesty when our child asked about it, and now he's giving me the silent treatment. I was, 28F, woken up this morning because the sheets I was lying on were wet. I assumed our child, 6F, had had an accident, but when I checked where the wetness came from it, to my surprise, turned out it wasn't her but my husband that had wet the bed. After I had taken a shower I woke him up and told him he'd wet the bed. At first he denied it, then I guess he realized he indeed had as he got this mortified look on his face, jumped right out of bed and started to try rip the bedding off. As we have pull-on sheets and our child was sleeping on the other side he didn't get them off. It looked stupid and honestly quite funny so I chuckled. He angrily told me it wasn't funny so I stopped. At that point the only thing his pulling of the sheets had accomplished was to wake up our child, who was confused and asked what was going on. He didn't say shit, just idiotically continued to try get the sheets off. So when he didn't reply I just told her he'd wet the bed. At that he just froze and looked at me with this weird look on his face, almost like he was about to cry or something. Our child asked why he'd wet the bed, and as he still was completely silent I went something along the line of that sometimes accidents happens. He just stood there staring at me. If looks could kill I would be dead, and I'm not exaggerating when I say he looked at me with pure hate. I've never been afraid of him, but for a second or two I thought he might hit me. Then he just dropped the things he'd managed to get off the bed on the floor, left the room and locked himself in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. When he came out he got dressed in a hurry and just left with saying you can take her to school. He didn't even look at me. His behavior really annoyed me but I just let him be as I didn't want to argue with him when he was in such a bad mood. When I got home from work he was still sulking, and basically ignored me. I was still annoyed with him from the morning so his behavior annoyed me even more. So I told him to get over it, that it wasn't the end of the world that he wet the bed, and to stop taking it out on me. At that he accused me of having humiliated him when I told our child. I found that utterly ridiculous on so many levels, so I angrily told him that he humiliated himself when he fucking wet the bed, not me. He didn't take that too well, and said fuck you and went off to his computer, and now he refuses to talk to me. And I just feel confused. I think he's the one that behaved poorly and immature and that I haven't done anything wrong. The last thing I said may have been harsh but I feel like he had it coming. Yet I feel like perhaps I was mean to him? Ida? Edit, I just want to clarify that I did not tell our child to be mean or to humiliate my husband. I told her because I didn't know what else to say, and as it was quite obvious what had happened I thought it was just best to be honest. I didn't tell her in any humiliating way, just as a matter of fact without doing a big thing about it. I didn't think my husband would feel that bad about it. Edit 2, for some reason someone has posted a link to a post claiming it is mine. It is not, and it has nothing to do with my husband or me. My husband do not have cancer. Update 1. I reread my original post, and there are some things I would like to elaborate on before I come to the update. I did feel empathy and I did care about my husband. I was gentle when I told him after I'd woken him up. However, his reaction caught me off guard, and the time from when he got up from bed until he locked himself in the bathroom couldn't have been more than a minute. After that I felt it was best to leave him alone. I know I was an off for telling our child, but I didn't do it to be mean or humiliate him. It was a stupid wrongful decision. I regret it. Further, it's not easy to show someone that you care when you're being ignored. I did text him after he left and asked if he was okay, but he left it on read. I asked him again when I got home but he didn't answer. I asked him if we could talk about it, no answer. I asked him if he could at least tell me why he was so mad at me, no answer. I gave up and went to make dinner. After dinner I asked him if he could stop ignoring me, no answer. I asked him if he wanted me to leave to which he replies, you can stay, I don't care. So I ask him again if he will stop ignoring me if I stay, and when he says no is when I had it. And while I don't think ignoring someone like that is okay, I know I handled it really bad. And I do feel awful for being outright mean to him. Anyway, I texted him early this morning to say that I was so sorry and asked if he was willing to talk after work so that I could apologize. He texted me back an okay around noon. We met up at home, and he understandably was cold to me when we met, didn't say much. I apologized for everything, for laughing, for telling our child, for telling him to get over it, and for the part that I'm most ashamed of that I told him he humiliated himself. He was just silent the whole time and when I was done, he just asked why I told our child. I explained and after that we just sat in silence in what felt like forever. Then right out of nowhere he went something like I scared you, right? And I told him that briefly he did. He said he could feel that. I asked what made him react so strong, but he didn't know, just said that he panicked when he realized he'd wet the bed, that it got even worse when I told our child, and that he just got so fucking angry with me for it. I apologized again for making him feel that way. He apologized for making me scared. I'm not going to go through all that we said after that, it was a long talk, but in conclusion none of us is happy with how we acted and we have both apologized for it. He wasn't that bugged about me laughing, but we both agreed that I shouldn't have told our child. However, he's no longer mad about it and doesn't think it's that big of a deal. We both think he shouldn't have ignored me like that, and that I handled it poorly and was mean. We have both accepted each other's apologies, but I still feel bad for being so mean to him. But all in all, we are on good terms now. Update 2. To begin with, as there was some concerns as to why my husband wet the bed. Since he was sober, I did try to get him to see a doctor after so many of you suggested he should. But he outright refused and claimed it was pointless as they wouldn't do anything anyway. He's wet the bed one other time that I know of, and both times he was rather exhausted and stressed out, so that may have been the reason. I don't know. This is too long, so a heads up to anyone who just wants to read about my husband divorcing me, you can stop reading now. My second post was written just after I had apologized. Based on the initial response on my first post, I concluded that I must be an awful person and I felt so bad for him. But to be honest, I never felt that my initial actions were that bad, and I still don't. I'm not saying I didn't deserve any of the hate I got, I surely did, but some of it was just vile, and some of the things I got hated for never happened but in the minds of commenters. But since outcome of my actions was so horrible and I never intended to hurt him, I felt truly bad I had. So the apology was sincere, and at the time of the second post I was happy we were on speaking terms and hoped we could put this behind us. It turned out I couldn't, and shortly after, I realized I was still bothered by his behavior. I also started to receive more comments from people who saw issues with his behavior as well, which I'm grateful for as it reassured me that it was problematic. What I omitted on purpose from my first post, as I wanted unbiased opinions, is that my husband can be a bit unstable, at times. Like he can be very immature and sensitive, has issues controlling his emotions, anger, and he's so damned hard to get sometimes. It's likely due to mental health issues, so it isn't fair to him and I'm awful for it, but sometimes I just find him so annoying and exhausting. I guess I got called out on that in my first post. At the time, he'd been in contact with a mental health team for years, but if it wasn't for them prescribing his medications, he would have cut contact with them a long time ago. Anyway, I was already a bit tired of always having to cater to his moods and him not doing enough to address his issues, so his weird over-the-top and threatening reaction, in my opinion, to wetting the bed and me telling our child just felt too much, even though he was hurt. And as I wrote, I had never felt threatened by him before, so it did bother me even though he didn't actually do anything. I made some attempts to try to talk with him again about what happened, especially why he got so angry that I felt threatened by it. I even asked him if it had something to do with him wetting the bed growing up, based on some theories about him being shamed for it in the comments. But he just said it didn't, and it was clear he didn't want to talk about any of it, and I didn't want to push. He's so bloody hard to talk with when it comes to stuff like his emotions or relationship issues, which can be very frustrating for me. To be honest, I even had some thoughts about whether I wanted to stay in this marriage, but they weren't that serious. Then about a week before Christmas he unexpectedly made a suicide attempt, sadly not his first. I did not see it coming, and I still feel like shit for it, probably always will. His memory the hours before is blurry, but he's adamant he didn't intend to hurt himself when he left our home that night. But I should have known. Anyway, it was bad, and for a while we didn't know if he was going to make it or what condition he would be, even if he did. Thankfully he survived and did so basically without any long-term effects. The time after was horrible, and when he got to come home he was so unwell he was basically lethargic for weeks. As to why he did it, the short answer is that he apparently had a hellish amount of anxiety he wanted to go away, which mixed bad with his sometimes complete lack of impulse control. He's been very clear that it had nothing to do with anything I've done. I didn't know how bad he was feeling because he didn't tell me, or anyone else, and it's so damn hard to help him when he doesn't tell us how he's feeling. It scared the shit out of me, and it scared the shit out of him too. To the point where he, finally, realized he needed more help, and he's been serious about it in a way he's never been before. So when he was offered therapy he accepted. Now the waiting time is a joke, so he will be starting in October. In the meantime he's been seeing a nurse and a psychiatrist. By April he was pretty much back to normal and went back to work. In the beginning of May we found out I was pregnant. It was definitely not planned and was a result of us fucking up when it came to birth control. Despite of all the obvious reasons why we should have terminated the pregnancy, we decided to go through with it anyway. It wasn't a decision we took lightly, but it was what we wanted. Here I can add that he was a fucking mess during my first pregnancy, and the second, apart from our 6-year-old we have a 4-year-old as well, was hard for him too. But for some reason that escapes me now, we thought it would be different this time. And it was, for a while. At 12 weeks we found out it wasn't one baby but 2 babies. I know it's awful, but I would lie if I said we were happy about it initially, but by then we were already set on having a baby, so we both wanted to go along with it. And after having digested the news, we became kind of excited about it. I'm 23 weeks pregnant now, and up until yesterday things have overall been quite good. When he got home from work, he was in a crappy mood. I thought he'd had a bad day at work, but when I asked him about it, I was served with an angry rant of how stupid we are for having the babies and that we should have aborted them. Like WTF, and when I asked why he was saying it and pointed out it wasn't a nice thing to say, he just replied, "Well, you asked and it's what I feel." I didn't want to talk with him when he was like that, so I told him we'd talk about it later. When the kids were asleep, I asked him what that was all about and where it came from. He said he didn't know in the way he says it when he doesn't want to talk about something. I tried to push a little but got nowhere, so I got a bit frustrated and told him that it wasn't fair to me to say things like that and then refused to talk about it. He was just silent for a while, then said fuck this and went and locked himself in the bathroom. When he came out he looked sad, so I asked him if he was okay and he said he needed some air. I was like okay and added something like it's okay to be sad, you know. He didn't like that, so he very angrily told me he wasn't sad. I know I should have let him be, but I just got such a bad feeling, so I asked him to stay. He didn't like that either, so he screamed at me that he didn't want to fucking stay and slammed the door so hard it woke the kids up when he left. I couldn't do much else than tend to the children, pretend everything was fine, and hope he would return safe and sound. I was so damned worried, so when the kids were back to sleep I texted him to ask if he was okay, and then I cried. He replied almost instantly, "I'm okay. Home in 5. Sorry. Love you," which eased my worry, but I was still sad and angry. He came back shortly after. He was clearly high, so he had calmed down. He isn't addicted. When he saw I was crying, he said he was sorry. I told him I'm not okay with him treating me like that, yada, yada, yada. He said he knew and apologized again. We've had that conversation before. I realized I wasn't even angry with him anymore. Perhaps I should have been. I just asked him to please not run away like that again, and he promised he wouldn't. But he probably will. Then he was tired, so we went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I haven't been feeling that great today, to be honest. I'm scared, disappointed, and I feel fucking stupid. My husband was in a better mood when he came home today, and he's been such a sweetheart. He even talked to me. He apologized for yesterday and told me he was disappointed in himself for how he behaved, that he's been trying so hard to behave like a normal person, his words, and that he was tired of failing all the fucking time. I know he's trying and he isn't failing all the time, so I told him to not be so hard on himself. I asked him about how he was feeling, and he admitted he wasn't feeling that well, but couldn't elaborate. So I asked him how bad not that well was, and said it wasn't too bad and that I didn't need to worry, and promised to tell me if it got worse. But I don't know if I can trust him on that. I'm so fucking scared he will crash again. I'm not sure I have the energy for it, not now, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have it either. I'm hoping so much that therapy will help him, but I'm not sure what realistically can be expected from it. What if it doesn't make a difference? What do we do then? I know it probably doesn't seem like it, as my posts have only focused on the negative, but I love my husband so much, and I don't want to live without him. But I don't want to live like this either. I don't know, perhaps I'm just overly sensitive right now, being pregnant and all. Now on to second story. Started resenting my dream husband after he confessed his desire for my cousin during sex. Now I fantasize about leaving him. I'm 34F, what I thought is happily married, 2 kids with my husband, 37 male. We went to my email cousin's wedding this summer, and my husband drinks socially for weddings and large gatherings, so this is not the norm for him. He drank so much at the wedding, though it's not an excuse. After the wedding we went back to the hotel and started having sex immediately. When he went inside me he started saying, "Your cousin is so hot I'm going to FCK you like I'm sleeping with her." I literally went numb. I could not enjoy the sex, and he literally gave me the best sex of our entire marriage, but I was dead inside. The next day he didn't remember anything. I mentioned it to him a few days later because we have sex pretty much every single day for the past 7 years being married. I could stomach sleeping with him, and he knew something was wrong because we're very affectionate. I told him I couldn't look at him the same. He said sorry blah blah. Apparently he wasn't that drunk to remember what he said. I haven't told anyone, but every day I fantasize of straight up leaving him, and when I have sex with him I completely blank out and pretend it's not him. It's been a few months and I haven't told him. Other than this, he's my dream husband and I'm so torn if I should divorce. Update 1. He is the only person I've ever had sex with right out of college. So my attachment is strong. My libido used to be high, and now our sex every night is usually him just straight up fingering me to find the hole and then inserts, and is him enjoying himself. He apologized so many times, wants therapy, and gets emotional not understanding why I can't enjoy sex with him. I tried 3 solo therapy sessions and they just say, forgive because it's not infidelity and can be resolved in communication. For some reason sex is a trauma for me now and I can't stop thinking about it no matter how great our day is. Divorce seems freeing but seems chaotic and obvious, a dramatic choice over this. Yes, my cousin is hot. But so are my 7 other girl cousins. Now family functions with holidays coming up seem terrifying. Also I'm very attractive too, I'm just not 24 anymore. My cousin's age, again I haven't shared my current feelings with him in months because I'm embarrassed and don't want to bring it up again. I know it's insecure and I don't want to look insecure, I'm just mentally and physically unwell. Update 2. I slept good but had to think about everyone's comments. Some made me laugh, some challenged me. My husband hugged me and didn't initiate sex for the first time and kissed me and said, I know something is not okay with you and I'm praying for you and it hurts to see you in pain. Didn't make me feel better, seriously feel the same inside. Going to talk to him tonight. Also to counseling this week with him and stop having sex until I feel safe and forgive him. I need to heal. I'm a hot girl spiraling. Never judge a book by its cover. People see me and think my life is perfect and I'm lucky. I'm numb inside just wanting to feel loved again. I hope there's hope around the corner. I have been completely destroyed. Sexually, mentally and now physically. Please give me some grace, and if you want to knock me down, at least make it humorous. I know people have it worse, but pain feels the same at the end of the day. If this breaks us, then I truly pray there are men out there that actually understand how delicate intimacy is. Update 3. I spoke with my husband, it did not go well. I'm completely blindsided. I'm really appreciative of everyone's opinions and perspectives. However, it was more than I can emotionally or mentally handle. He was very remorseful about the first situation. My husband said he wanted to fuck my cousin that was so hot after her wedding. As he shared that info inside me, then proceeds to fuck me like that because, well, he enjoyed it and felt like the best sex of his life and mine too. Though I was completely traumatized, he is so sorry that it hurts me to this day, but totally gaslit me and thinks I'm immature and needs to move on. That they said hurtful stuff and doesn't matter the depth of subject, that all hurts are equal. Then he starts crying how sorry he is and that it pains him how he hurt me and want our marriage to be restored. He completely diminished my feelings when I shared more after that and acted like I needed to get over it. It gets worse. 1. He proceeds to tell me what I already know, but it gets worse, that of course it's normal to find other people more attractive. He thinks I'm very beautiful, but he actually thinks like this a lot, and though he tries to enjoy making love with me. Yes, he sometimes thinks of other women he's fucked in college, my friends, my cousins, and occasionally porn girls he saw online prior to marriage. He knows it's wrong and is a man working on his sinful desires. His words, those are his intrusive thoughts he needs to battle against to make sure he loves me better and makes me feel desired. Thank you for cutting the knife deeper and extending the list. Whoa. Gut-wrenching. I'm shaking typing this. 2. He wants to get help for our marriage and willing to go to counseling. Only it's done through our church. Again, I only disclosed to some comments. Yes, we're Mormon and it's very much like, forgive and move on. No doubt there is a lot of work in those sessions. But I feel like it's a scapegoat for him. He doesn't think the counseling needs to be centered around this topic but more of my resentment and unforgiveness issues. He thinks I'm the problem and had no issues vocalizing that I need a lot of healing. Not from him, well, that I'm basically crazy. He also mentioned maybe my issue stems from not having a good dad in my life. Smile, I'm sorry, but I was not thinking about my father while you fucked me pretending it was my cousin. 3. He then states, why is this coming out of nowhere? I proceed of sharing honesty and Reddit becoming my help to my voice. Whoa. Now he's very mad. How could I share such intimate details with strangers? I know it's wrong. But of course no. I'm a crazy woman and he's super hurt that I did that and doesn't know how he can forgive me for that. 4. I bring up the sex. I told him I feel uncomfortable and numb. I think it's highly disturbing he fingers me to find my hole then inserts his dick in me while I'm sleeping, and that more than 20 plus times I either accept it and just lay there with my eyes closed or I'm awake to enjoy the pleasure, and he will continue till he comes from dodgy position, every time, then rolls over and snoozes. He says sorry, I will never do that again since it makes me uncomfortable. He thought it was consensual since it's been happening like that all summer? I said well, I've been unwell mentally and didn't voice it. He then says he finds it offensive and disturbing I called it rape and that he is not dominating and I need help for using those words. 5. He thinks we should separate and doesn't want to talk to me. Smile, he thinks it's better we don't talk because he doesn't like fighting and my mean words and accusations. He said he's willing to make it work if I seek help from the church and go to counseling. That I'm the one with serious issues because he already said sorry the one time. 6. I go very angry and called him a fucking asshole and was yelling at him and crying. He walked out the room and said he's not dealing with me. I followed him and he said it's best we don't talk unless it's front of a counselor and told me to get away from him. 7. He said when we didn't have sex last night he was concerned how I looked, that he prayed for me. He's concerned I need help. Suggested I read my Bible, go for a walk and learn to forgive quickly because the hate in my heart is really unattractive. He also suggested we try for a baby this month because he wants more kids, so to forgive him soon so we don't miss that opportunity. Then proceeds to stonewall me. 8. He is completely offended that I don't think he loves me or cares for me. That he's human and makes mistakes. I need to get over it, Emma. Deeply that I am destroying our marriage and intimacy. Conclusion, I am apparently a not so hot spiraling girl. I'm very shocked. I didn't think I could be more hurt. I'm with a complete narcissist, cruel and manipulative man. This is not who I'm married to all day. He is loving, kind, affectionate and such an incredible dad. Does After Dark leave me with his other side? Does he have a side I don't know that revealing itself through this situation? Should I be concerned? I'm so confused after this whole conversation how now I'm the bad person and he's the saint concerned for me. I'm feeling like I'm just his release to come and his companion for life's normal box checking. But I don't think he truly loves and cares for me, which hurts worse than his confessions. I will be definitely seeking counseling by myself and with him, but with a third party not from church. Let's see if this ends in divorce or can be restored. I'm completely broken. Please tell me there are men who don't think like this? Men, please answer me, is this completely insane or him, or am I truly the wild one? If you respond, please do so with kindness. I'm really unwell right now.